What's going on, it's the RapNerd, and I'm back again with another reaction to the reactions I'm seeing for J.Cole. Now, let me start by saying that this is not to change anybody's opinion who feels a way about what they feel about the album. This is just me giving my perspective, as other YouTube channels do. They give their perspective, so I'm just gonna give mine, similar to what I did with the Birthday Blizzard mixtape, right? So, as usual, I'm seeing a lot of mixed reviews for Cole's album, and it's not really that surprising to me. I kind of figured it was going to be like that, and it's been like that, honestly, Cole's whole career, where I'm seeing people say what they have to say about, J. Cole, and I kind of like, just like whatever, because in my opinion, Cole is what hip hop is. Like, he's a representation of what classic hip hop once was, and because of that is why I'm a fan of him and his music, and why I hold him to such an astute, because he's doing things that are not regular amongst mainstream hip hop anymore, right? So, a few responses I'm seeing. There's a lot of disdain for the music. I feel like they're saying like it's too much, because for some reason folks want him to like address the beef or not address the beef, and like it doesn't really make sense to me. Again, he opted out of that because he didn't want to be messy and he didn't want to engage in that type of talk, and he didn't. I'm seeing clips from so many different creators, and again, it is a shame to see such clickbait from people who are of the generation of hip hop, of which this album represents, just reach for the stars in regards to the album, which is crazy to me, right? And I'm gonna name some people. So first of all, like the Joe Budden podcast, I watched them, and one of the things that I valued about the podcast and why I even started watching is because Joe Budden himself is a rapper's rapper, who I assume, and I know for sure, the people around him like that kind of rap, right? I knew it was gonna be some bullshit, the moment I watched their review of, the Blizzard. It was kind of like, you have people not wanting to get flowers and saying it's cool, and I'm like, hey, you can do what you want, right? And I just know that if you're a genuine fan of music, I don't know, it seemed like they were trying to hide their, feelings about the project, when I'm just kind of like, this is not just like regular rapping. So anyway, I knew that this was going to be that, but of course clips surface and go on social media, and I see them discuss the album, and I'm just baffled. Like, the discussion surrounding the Quick Stop record, where they just talk about J. Cole meeting a nigga at the gas station. I'm like, that's all that you got from that record? Like, that's it? And again, as a Cole fan, and I know I'm gonna get called a Cole Glazer, so I'm cool with that. I'll be that. Again, I can tell you why I'm a huge fan of Cole, like I just did, and I will continue to do. But there's just so much more than that, than just a guy that he spoke to at a gas station. It's the realization of being caught up in your own, stuff in your head, whether it be creative juices or, you're just not here mentally, not really realizing what the purpose of why you're here is actually here. And I feel like that's a message that could be spread past music, just us in our regular lives, And when he gets into that second verse, saying it's about the difference you make, it ain't about the music. It's about the difference you as a person make to the people around you, whether you're a parent to your kids, whether you're sibling, child to yourself, to your parents, to your co-workers, if you're a supervisor or a manager or just a teammate. It's about the difference you make. And I feel like that message in that song is just really heartfelt and emotional. But to sum it up, it's just a nigga he talked to at the gas station. It was just like, it sounds so disingenuous, you know what I mean? Like, especially coming from somebody like Joe Budden. And he also led to say, like, he feels like he didn't learn anything new about Cole. And again, you're only saying that because you want him to address stuff about the beef, when he already has done that in multiple tracks. Port Antonio was the record where he addressed how he felt afterwards. I don't know how you wouldn't know where Cole is. I mean, that's the whole reason for Dis 39, and it's why I love Dis 39, because it gives you exactly where he currently is. Because personally, I think both discs are phenomenal and they work well, and I'm gonna do a deep dive on both discs and what I think makes that album so great. But that's what Diss 39 is about. He's telling you where he is. He's showing you his maturity. Even the sound of the two differ, and the energy is different, and that's the reason why. So to act like you don't know what he thinks now is kind of crazy to me when the words are right there in so many different ways. Like, the album delivers so much content and substance that it's overwhelming, honestly. And it's just painful to hear somebody of Joe Budden's stature and the crew who works around him be quick to just shoot it down. And again, I'm not against critique. I think if you're going to critique, I think it needs to be a detailed critique of art in general, whether it be a movie review, music, painting, you want to talk about food, culinary skills, all of that. I think that there needs to be like some actual oomph in what you're saying to get across actual critique articulated well, that it actually means something, you know? And I'm not seeing enough of that. It's just reaching and just like, oh, he's just saying this. I'm like, come on, man. So move on to Joe, and it's funny passing the torch off to Mal and Rory, right? Saw a clip again from them two, and I'm just like, what in the fuck are y'all talking about? Somehow they hear the record What If with Cole speaking from Biggie and Pac's perspective, using their rhyme, you know, the voice cadences with his own rhyme scheme. And they're looking at that as like his way to talk from Drake and Kendra's perspective of if they would have just apologized. And I'm like, that's not what the record is about, bro. Like, I'm flabbergasted at the ability to create something out of nothing when this man clearly opted out again, that he's not really into the beef. So to see the strings trying to be tugged on that, like the representation of Big and Kendrick, like, so we looking at Drake like he's Biggie now? Like, what are y'all talking about? Drake's not even from America. Yet again, it just goes into the mindset of where Cole is currently at. And it's like, besides what you personally feel like he should have done, you got to critique the work at what it is. And I'm not seeing enough of that. I saw one reaction saying that Cole just has done the same thing over and over again in his album is that, and I just completely disagree. There are a lot of different things that Cole has never done on this album. I mean, the Let Out being a song that he has never done. I mean, that pace, the type of tonal shifts that he's doing on there, it's all different on that record. The song Only You is a different bag for him. Life Sentence is a whole different bag from him. Hell, the way he opened with 2-6 is not something that J.Cole typically does, rapping over beats like that. Hell, Old Dog being an homage to Cash Money type beats, we don't hear him rhyme over stuff like that. Hit the Gas is another one that we have not heard from Cole doing. And it just, again, feels disingenuous to blatantly see past certain things that you're trying to critique when it's right there. And I wish more people who have platforms would go about their reviews, you know, in a better light, you know. And I can't make people do anything, but I just know for me personally, that's what I try to do whenever I do reviews on music and movies. And, you know, my take on things is like giving my perspective without dunking on someone else, unless I just think that it doesn't really make sense, you know. There needs to be more of, this album wasn't for me, this movie wasn't for me, rather than this is underwhelming, this is disappointing, this sucks. Because I'm like, a lot of times when you make that statement, it's based on what you personally wanted for yourself. You cannot tell an artist what they're supposed to do to appease you. That's not the way it is. Like, people don't become fans of people because an artist caters to them. They become a fan of somebody because what they're doing is something that they align with. And if you don't align with the shit, don't listen. And it just seems like the hate listening has definitely grown immensely since the beef happened. And I feel like if the beef never happened, there wouldn't be this level of back and forth with people. I'm even seeing critique about Cole going city to city selling discs, talking about it's a marketing ploy and it's disingenuous. I'm like, he has done this before. Are we forgetting the Dollar and a Dream tour when he just announced the tour, and if you could buy tickets for $1, you come to the show? This is in his DNA. I remember seeing a video of when Born Center dropped, and I think him, I forgot who was with him. It might have been Wale. When they actually went to Best Buy to look at his album, and he purchased a whole bunch of them for fans who were there and wanted the album too. because they were joking like, this is me recouping, you know, my money, you know, for the album. So it's just like, this is weird, bro. This is really strange to see a lot of these takes. And as a reference, right, I saw the same thing happen with Nas in the 2000s when it became clear that Nas and Jay were ops, even before the shots thrown, because there were always, you know, little slick things being said until the beef just kind of, you know, imploded on its head. Once that happened, I started to see the Nas hate go through the roof. And again, I'm from Columbia, South Carolina, right? And, you know, making my way from Columbia to back to Virginia, back and forth, right? Got family there. And I've always been a Nas fan. And I remember during that time period, like the South was rocking with Jay-Z heavy. And I remember trying to put people on the Nas like, yo, this record is dope. Like that Made You Look Godson album is fire. I remember that Bravehearts had an album. I forgot the name of the record. It had a Lil Jon beat on it. And I never get playing that record like, yo, this is hard. And my cousins walked out like, man, get that shit out of here. Same thing in Carolina. It was saying like, Nas is boring as hell. I don't know why you listen to him. You know, the beats put me to sleep. And again, it was magnified because of the opposition between him and Jay. And I'm seeing the same exact thing happen with Cole. Granted, like I said, there were always people who said like, oh, you know, Cole is boring. But like, it's doubled down when it became a beef situation. And I'm seeing that same thing happen here in a magnified format. I just think it's pretty corny for that to happen, you know what I mean? So I just wanted to give my take on that. And if you wonder why I like J.Cole so much or why I'm a huge fan, it's because, again, he represents what hip-hop once was in the truest format. I feel like there aren't any bells and whistles with him because the focus is the art of rapping. And you have to be a fan of the art of rapping to actually dig Cole in his album. Another thing, I'm seeing somebody say, like, a number of people actually go, yeah, J. Cole is a great rapper, you know. He's elevated his pen and he's become the best rapper, but what else? I cannot believe we live in an era where somebody raps excellently and has continued to excel with their penmanship, and you're asked, what else? That's the job, bro. Like, being as skilled as he is not something that is a far stretch in the game, especially now. Cole being able to check the boxes of lyricism, all of them, to be honest. Introspection, I sound like a broken record here. Storytelling, personable, relatable, bar heavy, punchlines, metaphors, similes, multi-syllable rhyming. Doing all of those things is crazy. Like, I remember people saying like, oh, sometimes you got to dumb yourself down to get the message to be heard. And I don't believe that, because Cole has shown it his whole career, and even more so here. He's telling stories of introspection while doing all of those things. So I don't want to hear this thing about like, you have to dumb yourself down to connect, because Cole has done it and has proved it. And not to mention other MCs have done it before, but I'm not buying that, you know what I mean? So anyway, this is just my take in response to what I've seen with this album. And I will be back later this weekend to do like not like a review, but kind of a breakdown between the two discs, because that's my way to review the album. And I want to go back and forth as to why I think it's such a masterpiece, you know what I mean? So that's just something I wanted to get out, because I kept finding myself scrolling Instagram and scrolling Twitter and seeing these takes, and I just had to put my voice out there so it just doesn't stay in my head, you know what I mean? And again, you don't have to agree with me, but please don't call me names just, you know, for the sake of my opinion. This is just my opinion, and I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything else, you know what I mean? So there that is. So, of course, if you like this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you already are subscribed, it's much appreciated. I thank y'all out there. And until next time, peace.
RapNerd Productions, no capping, that's word to mommy. Instead of banking on it, now rapping is just a hobby.